Technology is being successfully utilized to resolve many of our problems. This is reflected in the current educational scenario also, as the teaching and learning process effectively utilizes the success of technology. Educational technology is the study and ethical practice of facilitating e-learning, which includes learning and improving performance by creating, using and managing appropriate technological process and resources. Technology in education is most simply defined as a range of tools that might prove helpful in progressing student learning. Educational technology relies on broad definition of the word technology. Technology can be referred to material objects of use to humanity such as machines or hardware, but it can also encompass broader themes including systems, methods of organization and techniques. Newer tools such as smartphones and games, both online and offline, are beginning to draw serious attention for their learning potential. Meaning and definition of technology. Technology is the making, variation, use and knowledge of tools, machines, techniques, crafts, systems and methods of organization in order to solve the problems, improve a pre-existing solution to a problem, achieve a goal, handle and apply input, output of relation or perform a specific function. It can also refer to the collection of such tools including machinery, modifications, arrangements and procedures. Technology significantly affects human as well as other animal species' ability to control and adapt to their natural environments. The term can be either be applied generally or to specific areas. Examples include construction technology, medical technology, information technology, and education technology. Dictionaries and scholars have offered variety of definitions of technology. The Merriam-Webster dictionary offers the definition of the term, the practical application of knowledge, especially in a particular area, and capability given by the practical application of knowledge. Ursula Franklin, in her 1989 Real World of Technology lecture, gave another definition of the concept. It is practiced the way we do things around here. The term is often used to imply a specific field of technology or refer to high technology or just consumer electronics rather than technology as a whole. H. J. Leavitt defines technology as a problem-solving inventions. The development of technology essentially attempts to be rational and produce greater efficiency. J. H. McCrith has expanded the method and strategies of teaching tools, mechanical and electronic devices, instruments, media equipments, library inventories, and even textbooks. Technology is a means component. However, observation, practice, and other evidence leads to the conclusion that frequently advocates the users to view them as ends. It is possible to classify technology for education into two categories: systematic programs, support transport items. A systematic program is conceived as a complete package or program structured towards an end and a single textbooks or computer-aided instructions CAI program. Support transport items consist of technology as support such as projectors, films, CCTV closed circuit television, ITV, instructional television and a language laboratory. The computer alone can be a support transport item. Further, computers can be used as a tool to generate an evaluation of systemic programs. For the most complex and difficult task in education is the designing of program. In our eagerness to adopt to newly advocated technology, we have not rationally or objectively sorted out the concepts and knowledge-based items. Advocacy and apparent use of it for the sake of use occurrence for too many instances. Educational television (ETV) was the first development instructional television. ITV a later development which is usually a closed circuit telecast. Essential differences attaining in ETV and ITV should generate a number of research questions. The telecast reached a captive audience and programming structured towards the specific end. They could range from concepts, appropriateness to the implications of that role and teacher-pupil behavior. Origin of educational technology. Technology is creeping into economic and productive spheres of life, even amidst psychological resistance in economic difficulties. Radio and television are found place in villages, large number of persons trained for specific technical jobs. Some modern tools are limited to overhead projects, lack of computers, calculators, smartphones and games, both online and offline, are beginning to draw serious attention for their learning potential. Scientific inventions have influenced every aspect of human life. Even the kitchen has been mechanized. Likewise, the Indian education process could not remain untouched by the technological revolution. Technology is now being utilized by all phases of human knowledge, preservation, transmission, and advancement. The computer and language laboratory are now being used extensively in our teaching process. Large number of students sitting in remote places can be benefited by a teacher by effectively using some type of technological media. The discipline of teaching process has emerged as an evidence-based applied sciences for the technology of learning or instruction. Before the 60s, the term educational technology was largely associated with the audio-visual and teaching materials for classroom instruction. Most of the teachers and educators consider only these forms of technology as a medium of educational technology. In 1950s, lead to two major popular design, B.Ed Skinner's What Lead to Program Instruction, focusing on the formation of behavioral objectives, breaking instructional content into small units, regarding and correct responses early and often. Advocating the mastery of roles to learning based on this taxonomy of intellectual behaviors, Loom endorsed instructional techniques that varied both instruction and time according to learner requirements. Models based on these designs usually referred to as computer-based training (CBT), computer-aided instruction or computer-assisted instruction (CAI) in 1970s through the 1990s. In a more simplified form, they correspond today as an e-content that often form the core of learning setups, sometimes also referred to as web-based training (WBT) or e-instruction. The 1980s and 1990s produced a variety of schools that can be put under the umbrella of computer-based learning (CBL), frequently based on constructivist and cognitivist learning theory. These environments focused on teaching both abstract and domain-specific problem solving. Preferred technology is microwave computer environment for learners could explore and build simulations and computer environments where learner can play with parameters of dynamic systems and hypertext. Educational technology is the new era in the discipline of education like educational psychology, educational philosophy, educational measurement, and evaluation. Educational technology makes the functional analysis of teaching learning process and locates the various components that operate from the stage of input to that of output. Recently, National Council of Educational Research and Trainings (NCERT) realized its importance in the area of education and established a Center of Educational Technology (CET). Today, the prevailing paradigm in the regular school system is computer mediated communication (CMC), where the primary form of interaction is between students and instructions mediated by the computer. CVTL, CBL usually means individualized such study learning where CMC involves teacher or tutor facilitated. In addition, modern ICT provide education with tools for sustaining learning communities and associated knowledge management tasks. It also provides tools for students and curriculum management. Widely, educational setup mostly still relies in paper, videos and occasional CBT CBL materials will be increased use of e-tutoring through forums, instant messaging and video conferencing. Meaning of educational technology. Educational technology can be conceived as for science and techniques and methods and higher educational goals can be realized. It is not primarily concerned with the task of prescribing the tools, although it helps in specifying the goals and translating them into behavioral terms. It is not one particular method of achieving educational goals like that of Montessori, all strategy of developing self-instruction material proposed by E.F. Skinner. It is on the other hand a science on the basis of various strategies and tactics could be designed for the realization of specified schools of education. The process of teaching them in this frame of reference involves or ranging for the input and designing of the situation or process to which students learn to form in a desired and specified manner. The desirability of a certain performance may be prescribed by social political experts, philosophers, legislators and other leaders of society who take comprehensive view of the nation and society prescribing the goals of education. The education technology determined whether the specified schools can be achieved for the given process or situation and on out. Consequently, it was determined to what extent the goals can be achieved, if they can be achieved, and if not, what changes are to be made in the process so as to achieve the specified goal. In this regard, educational technology involves 4 steps. To make the functional analysis of teaching learning process, to identify the various components that operates from stage of input to that of output, to observe the effect of manipulating the various component and that to observe the defective manipulating the various component and their function in the field, to translate all these research findings into some kind of guidelines for the practitioner. Alternate meaning of educational technology. An alternate meaning of educational technology is the mechanization of the educational process. Mechanization is being done in all the 3 phases of human knowledge very rapidly. First, preservation of knowledge. Second, transmission of knowledge. The third, advancement of knowledge. The first phase of human knowledge is to preserve it. Prior to printing machine, most of the knowledge was memorized wholly and transmitted by teacher to the students. And now, knowledge has been preserved by the use of printing machine. An effective teacher can be preserved today as a whole. Voice expression, action can be done by the use of tape recorder, videotapes or film. In this way, educational technology is the extension of a teacher. The future generation can see more eminent teachers for the help of teaching. The second phase of human knowledge is to transmit the knowledge to new generation. Limited number of students can be benefited by the classroom teaching, but a large number of students sitting at distant places can be taught with the help of radio and television. Open universities, correspondence education, distance education and continuing education are the major contributions. The third phase of human knowledge is to advance the knowledge. The function of research process is to advance new knowledge. The scientific concepts are based on the collection and analysis of the data. The computer and electronic machine yield more defendable results. Thus, the education process being mechanized, and this aspect of educational technology refers to hardware approach. Definition of educational technology. The course stating the definition of education technology is important to note these basic assumptions. Human being is viewed as a communicating biological system. Human behavior is observable and modifiable. When humans utilize any physical objects on their own, the biological system makes in his communication. Technology is an extending media or an extension of humans. Teaching is considered as an art as well as a science. Effective teachers can be produced through training institutions. Teaching theories can be developed to understand the nature of teaching. Seventh, communication media can facilitate learning. Definitions. The term educational technology had been defined by several educators, scholars, and most important definitions are given below. Shivion Lith has given comprehensive definition of educational technology. According to him, educational technology is the systematic application of scientific knowledge, the teaching, learning, and conditions of learning to improve the efficiency of teaching and training. In the absence of scientifically established principles, education technology implements techniques of empirical test in improving learning situations. Scientific knowledge of the teaching learning refers to the following important features: systematic study of teaching, objective knowledge of teaching, structure of teaching into its component, teaching task or goal oriented, cause and effective relationship established among the components of teaching and learning. According to B.C. Matthews, education technology refers to the development of set of systematic methods, practical knowledge for designing, operating and testing in schools. He emphasized the development of teaching methods and skill for testing the performance of other students. Robert A. Cox has defined the term educational technology as the application of scientific process to man's learning conditions, to what has come recently to be called educational or instructional technology. In this definition, R.A. Cox has given major stress on the application learning conditions for child development. E. Hedden has given the functional definition of educational technology. Educational technology is that branch of educational theory and practice which is concerned primarily with design and use of message which control the learning process. Harron's definition involves both aspects, theory and practice, and stresses on application for effective communication in the learning process. According to W. Kenneth Richman, 1970, the educational technology is concerned to provide appropriate learning situations which holding in view of the objectives of the teaching or training brain to bear the best needs of instruction. Richman has stated three characteristics of educational technology and the definition: designing appropriate learning situations, realizing objectives of teachings and learning, bringing best means of instruction. I.V. Davis has defined the term education technology in the following manner: education technology is concerned about the problems of education and training context and is characterized by the disciplined and systematic approach to the organization of resources for learning. This definition includes the problem of education and training, but earlier definitions are not considered the problems of training. Davis has emphasized on the approach of organization of learning resources. Indian educationist S.S. Kulkarni has defined the term educational technology as the application of laws as well as recent discoveries of science and technology to the process of education. In this definition, Kulkarni has pointed out that educational technology improves education process by employing laws and principles of science and technology. According to Shiv K. Mitra, education technology can be conceived as a science of techniques and methods for educational goals could be realized. This definition is comprehensive and communicate the true meaning of term educational technology as a development of techniques and methods in educational technology and meant for realizing goals for education. Characteristics, objectives, and applications of educational technology. It may be noted by considering the above definitions where educational technology has the following characteristics: involves input, output, and process aspect of education, stresses upon the development methods and techniques for effective learning, applies scientific knowledge to education and training, inclusive organization of learning conditions for realizing goals of outcomes, emphasis on designing and measuring instruments for testing learning outcomes, facilitates learning by control of environment, media, and methods. On the basis of foregoing meaning and definitions, educational technology can be defined as a behavioral scientific approach. Teaching and learning in that it makes use of pertinent scientific and technological method and concepts developed in psychology, sociology, communications, linguistics, and other related fields. It also attempts to incorporate the management principles of cost effectiveness and the efficient development in the use of available resources in men and materials. It involves media, methods, equipment, and resources. Objectives of educational technology. The following are the major objectives of education technology, which are realized in all teaching learning situations. To determine the goals and formulate the objectives in behavioral terms or specification of objectives. To analyze the characteristics of learner. To organize the content in logical or psychological sequence. To mediate between content and resources of presentation. To evaluate the learner's performance in terms of educational objectives. To provide the feedback among other components for the modification of learners. The objectives of educational technology have been formulated in communication contexts. Scope of educational technology. Educational technology is a process-oriented technique. Educational technology is not limited to teaching and learning process. Theories have been shifted from learning to teaching only due to educational technology. If the educational technology is limited to audio-visual aids, mechanical and electronic gadgets, the scope of educational technology becomes limited. But educational technology is not limited to all these things, rather it prevails all over. Educational technology should go into progress task analysis, specification of direct behavior, determination of prerequisites and gradual direct behavior, clears specification of the problem, hindrance involving problems and management, and organization of man, material and resources, availability of a few media as for example films, television and radio. Developing software technology. Educational technology is a separate field dealing with the theory of education with development and application of educational resources. Educational technology looks at education in a wider sense, includes various aspects such as entry behavior of a learner, objectives, content analysis and evaluation. Educational technology borrowed the terms system approach from management studies and corrective feedback from cybernetics. This widened the scope of educational technology as the teaching learning process was examined in a holistic manner. Conclusion. Technology can be viewed as an activity and forms that changes culture. Additionally, technology is the application of maths, science and arts for the benefit of life as it is. The modern example is rise of communication technology, which is lessened barriers to human interaction and as a result has helped to find new subcultures including educational technology. The rise of cyberculture has at its basis the development of internet and the computer. Not all technology enhances the culture creatively. Technology can also help facilitate political oppression and war via tools such as gun. As a cultural activity, technology predates both science and engineering, each of which formalize some aspects of technological and development. Technology has affected society and its surrounding in a number of places. In many societies, technology has helped to develop more advanced economies in today's global economy. Philosophical debates has arisen over the present and future use of technology in society, whether disagreements over the technology improve the human condition or worsens it. Few groups criticize the pervasiveness of technology in the modern world, opining that harms environment and eliminates species. The word technology for the sister fields of educational and human performance. Technology means applied science. In other words, any valid and reliable procedures that is derived from basic research using the scientific methods is considered as technology. In 2000s, emergence of multiple mobile and ubiquitous technology have a new impulse to be situated learning theories favoring learning in context scenario. Some literature uses the concept of integrated learning to describe blended learning scenarios that indicate both school and workplace settings. In the recent years, initiators that gets republic access much of the international using programs, adult education of higher education has greatly improved and the quality of educational material available are free on the internet. Advancements in the design of educational technology tools that present data and education stakeholders such as student data system have had a significant impact on education and students. Students are growing up and they have constant exposure to variety of media related content. Thank you.